Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of 48 Now. I'm your digital host, Tatiana White, and I am here today with a wonderful Huntsville photographer and filmmaker, Xavier Adams. How are you doing today, Xavier?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for coming. It's such a pleasure having you on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So Xavier, again, he's a Huntsville photographer and filmmaker, and his photographs have actually been exhibited in a lot of different places right now. He has some that are in Hartsfield-Jackson Airport until April 3rd of this year. So go check those out if you're going to the Atlanta airport anytime soon. And his work will actually be showcased this upcoming Friday, February 21st at the Orion Amphitheater for the Framing the Future, a Black Photographers Gallery event. So I just want to start with just your photography journey. So what inspired you to just pick up a camera and pursue a photography career?
I would say it started fairly late in my opinion. When I was a senior in high school, I was getting ready to prepare for classes, and I found out I had been registered for a photography class. I didn't remember registering for it, but I took it, started out with it. I only had an iPhone at the time, but I was still able to take all the photos I needed for the required assignments. And I just took a liking to it, took a liking to trying to find different meanings for what I was going through at that point, and just trying to convey it in a different way. I'd always just use photography, I guess. I just thought of it as like simple like selfies and whatnot, but I started to really look at it as an art form when I was a senior in high school. And then from there, I decided it inspired me to want to pursue cinematography as a film career, or as a career. And I decided to go to Georgia State in Atlanta to pursue a film career. And then after graduating college, I decided to really pursue photography more as a creative outlet, specifically 35mm film photography.
That's awesome. And that's always the best, like whenever you don't intend for something to happen and then it happens.
Definitely.
And so like you mentioned, photography is such like a powerful art form. So how would you describe your style or approach? Because I know like a lot of photographers, they have their own way of like, filming certain things. They have their own, style. So what's yours?
I feel like my style centers a lot on isolation. I focus a lot on people, whoever my subject is, really being in tune with their self, learning oneself, trying to find the meaning of what they do in anything. And I feel like along with isolation, I tend to focus on isolation and scale, someone trying to find their place in the world and find their place amongst the background, trying to see where they fit in. And just trying not to necessarily conform, but just try to find what makes them stand out and then go their own path.
Yes. Oh, that's so beautiful. So like you like your subject to kind of be that focal point, but embrace their background at the same time.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And I saw some of your photos and like they look amazing. Like I can definitely tell that's your style. So.
Thank you.
And so were there any like specific challenges that you faced starting out? How did you overcome them? Do you still have some challenges that you go through?
Oh, definitely. Starting out, the biggest challenge was definitely just trying to be social, whether it was trying to get permission to shoot at certain places, get permission from people to let me shoot them, especially when you try to take pictures of younger children and like trying to get permission from their parents and try to explain your intentions behind it, make sure that you don't have any ill intentions and that you're just trying to shoot something. You're not trying to have any ulterior motive. And that's something that's still a challenge I still face. A lot of times I like to do a lot of street photography, and I'll just try to shoot random people I'll observe from afar. And a lot of times I'll walk up and just be like, hey, I like the way you're looking. I like the position you're in. Would you be fine if I shoot you? Most of the time they agree with it. They see no issue. But those few times where they say no or their reaction is not what I was expecting, it kind of makes me shut down for a second until I just have to tell myself, that's life, A lot of people aren't going to feel comfortable getting their picture taken. For the longest time, I didn't feel comfortable getting my picture taken. I still kind of don't, to be honest. But I think for the most part, when you just try to have good intentions and you try to let that show, most people will allow you to really capture them in a good way, hopefully.
Yeah. And I feel like that's actually, I never knew that that was something that I guess street photographers go through, but that makes sense because I feel like similar in like journalism and in this field,
Definitely.
people are like, oh, it's the news crew, and sometimes they're a little alarmed and they're like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And it's like, no, like the intention is good. Like it's not,
yeah.
to make your business or anything look bad. So I feel
Absolutely.
like it's very similar in that way.
Definitely.
So, but it's good. I feel like, if you approach it the way that you said you do, like I feel like that will help people feel more calm because they know,
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm not a weird person trying to,
Yeah.
do anything with your photos. So,
Okay.
and so despite the challenges, what are some of your favorite parts of being a photographer? Like what motivates you to keep going?
Kind of in line with I guess the social part. It's just really beautiful getting to meet and get to know certain people because so many, like every day we drive on the street and we're driving past people in cars we're never going to see again. People's stories we'll never know. So when you get a chance to really hone in on a people or a group of people and really get to know their story, get to know their way of life, their way of thinking, it really opens up your mind and it really just makes you more, not only more social, but just more open-minded and hopefully kinder, I would like to believe. I really appreciate just getting the opportunity to learn different people and really see a different viewpoint of life that I'm not privy to, that I haven't dealt with myself, especially when this comes from people who are just from overlooked communities, in my opinion. I feel like as a person of color, I seek those people out the most because, especially nowadays, people are really trying to tune you out, and I would like to feel that for a second maybe they feel seen by me, and hopefully if the photo turns out well, then it can be seen by others as well. But yeah, I would say that's just the interaction part is definitely my favorite aspects of photography.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a really good part of it. And I feel like, when you create that conversation and that bond, it helps them feel comfortable when they're taking the photo, and that in itself makes your photo look good. So.
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
Yes, and I love the car example you gave because I always think about that. I'm like, there's so many cars around me with everybody has their own story, and you'll never know them until unless you meet them for something like photography or in journalism if you interview them or something. So it's cool to meet people that you would have never met until that. So.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's such a small world too. Like you can take a picture of someone and then they may know someone, and then it builds that networking, builds community, and it makes you really appreciate, I guess, I want to say the grand scheme, but I guess you appreciate how like certain moments can really lead to something else, and like you don't really think about that in the moment.
And you never know, like who knows anybody, so just that being kind and nice, and they're like, actually I know somebody who works here, and they so you just never know.
Definitely.
And so you touched on this a little bit, but as a Black photographer, do you feel like your cultural background influences the way you capture or interpret the world and how you do your photos and editing and everything?
Definitely. I feel like in terms of what I decide to shoot, it may be based more on just my personality, not me being Black, but I feel like they go hand in hand. I feel like whenever I do try to shoot people and I try to focus on, like I said, the isolation, I'm focused on the way I felt growing up. A lot of times growing up in different communities where I didn't feel like I was accepted or my viewpoints weren't appreciated. So allowing myself to capture someone else maybe makes them feel like they're appreciated, or their viewpoint can be seen and appreciated for once. When I edit, I try to focus a lot on skin tone and capturing skin tone well. A lot of times growing up, even now, you see a lot of movies, photos of people of darker skin tones. They're not properly exposed, they're not properly lit. And that was something that kind of, when I decided to do photography, I want to make sure I got that right. If I don't do anything right, I want to make sure I get the exposures right for darker skin tones. In editing, when it comes to that, I just try different things out. I just want to make sure that it looks, not only looks good, but it almost looks painterly, I guess, in terms of making sure the tones are right, the textures look adequate. And yeah, I would say those are probably the main focuses and where where I guess where me being not only a black photographer but a black man or a black person really helps to make my work stand out, I'd say.
Yes, and I love that you said that about the exposure. I think that's so important because I've seen so many like magazine covers and stuff, and you can tell like, you know, they're really like washed out, like, you know, their skin tone and stuff. And I love, personally, I love having photo shoots for like birthdays and stuff like that. So I'm always, when I'm looking for a photographer, I'm always looking for like their other work and seeing how they've captured a person of color, because it's like, you know, I'm like, are they able to do it where their skin tone looks like their skin tone, or am I going to look like, you know, brighter or darker, you know, because it is something that is, you know, not, it's a learned skill, I feel, that you have to do to be able to capture all skin tones and make it look well, you know, so yeah, I think that's amazing that you focus on that. And so you've already done so much in your career, so what are some of your photography goals that you have in the future? Where do you see yourself going? What do you want to come out of this?
Photography wise, I definitely want to do more exhibits. I want to have, to be quite honest, more of my photos displayed around the world. In the back of my mind, I have a list of places, museums, not only within the United States, but around the world I would like to have my work exhibited in. And that list changes all the time, but I feel like as far as the photography aspect, that's my main goal. I'm not really too focused on trying to do shoots or do paid shoots. If I get the opportunity to shoot certain people, certain people that has inspired me, like certain celebrities, political figures and whatnot, then that would be great. But honestly, at the end of the day, I feel like I want my photography to help me to eventually transition to cinematography. I eventually do want to be a filmmaker full time. I want to be able to take the images the work and the skills I've learned as photography and apply it to moving images. I would really enjoy, hopefully, just being a full-time director of photography and one day possibly becoming the first African American to win an Oscar for best cinematography.
Wow. And I didn't even know, like, you know, no one has won that, a black person has. So.
Yeah, I think, but from what I remember, I don't think a black person has. I think there've only been 2 or 3 black people nominated. But yeah, I would like to at least win. And I don't really like saying that because I feel like, you know, you shouldn't do certain things to win awards or whatnot. But I do feel like, you know, when people do win awards like that and they don't look the same as everyone else, it helps inspire the next generation and lets them know that they can do that as well, and just keeps the inspiration moving forward. Yeah, photography wise, those are probably my main goals. Using my photography hopefully to capture more of the world, whether it's in photojournalism or just in my own travels, capturing more of the world as I see it, and hopefully allow people to see different worlds or different countries, different locations that they may not be aware of, and hopefully just make people more open-minded in general.
Yes, that's really amazing. I love that that's your goal, and I feel like, you know, like you said, you know, if you were to win and stuff and like they were to see more people like you, it can, that next senior that was just like you, that's like, oh, I'm in this photography class, and they're like, but you know what, I saw this guy and he won, so I can do it too.
Oh, definitely.
Yes, and I just, like, I think cinematography is such a cool career. I feel like it would be amazing. Do you want to do like small films, or are you thinking like, you know, blockbuster type, you know, movies?
I would say probably more smaller independent works. Yeah, I feel like definitely starting out, I want to do more independent films, the smaller stuff that I feel like would really allow me to hone in. I look at one of my main inspirations in cinematography being Bradford Young. He's someone who started out doing some smaller stuff, and stuff with mainly Dee Rees, a few things with Ava DuVernay, with Selma, When They See Us. Not to say they're small at all, but you know, they're not on the grand scale as some of his later stuff like Arrival, Solo, Star Wars. I want to be able to, I guess, move in both those worlds the way he seems to do, effortlessly or seamlessly. And yeah, starting out definitely smaller, but eventually I would like to be able to just do smaller stuff, bigger stuff, and have my work be consistent enough that no matter what people see, they can know that that's my work.
Yes, yeah, and that's, you can always tell too, like those certain filmmakers, you know, like you're like, oh,
Yeah.
that was definitely this person. So
Absolutely.
it's nothing like having your own brand and people just know, just based
No.
off of the photos or the videos. And so, do you have any like future collaborations like that you inspire to like collaborate with any like filmmakers, photographers?
Um, Grand scale, I guess in the grand scheme, my favorite director ever is Richard Linklater.
Okay.
He directed the Before trilogy, School of Rock, whatnot. I know he typically works directly with one cinematographer, but if I could just work with him in any capacity, whether it's a DP or just work on one of his film sets before he calls it a career, that's the main goal. I'd love to work hand in hand with a few artists, musicians, Kendrick Lamar
Yes.
mainly. I know him and Dave Free, they work basically almost like exclusively together, but if I could just lend a hand in any way, that would be great. Beyonce.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah, she's just,
You know,
yeah.
no explanation needed.
Exactly.
Beyonce.
Yeah. And then some of my other favorite artists, Coldplay. If working with Coldplay would be good to work with. But yeah, I feel like a lot of the work I would like to do is with musicians, honestly. I'd love to be able to just shoot a lot of them, not only music videos or whatever documentaries or films, but I just love to be able to shoot them in their process. I've always aspired or desired to just shoot artists while they're in a recording studio making an album. To me, there's nothing better than to be in that space and seeing people create great work. And I think it pushes you to create your own great work. I can't, like, it would just have been amazing to be like in the studio with Kendrick when he was like recording To Pimp a Butterfly, or Beyonce when she was recording like Renaissance or Lemonade or Cowboy Carter, anything like that. To see that process, to see how meticulous they are, and how that attention to detail comes out in the work when it's all said and done, I think it only would make me better in what I do. So yeah.
Yes, that's so cool. I think that would be amazing because I love seeing the behind the scenes and just seeing them like, you know, and I think there needs to be more people that do film the behind the scenes, and like it can just be captured in time, and like, you know, like so future generations, they're like, oh, this is what this artist like did, this is how they made this album, and you know, you're a part of that history of filming it. And then like even like you said, like for Kendrick Lamar, like for even his Super Bowl, like the behind the scenes when he was, you know, practicing and putting together the choreography and all of that, and like you being the person to film it, and then being like, you know, this is how we had it set, and behind the scenes this is how it happened in real life, like this is how it looked when it actually was performed. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yes, yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And also, I guess in that same point too, just shooting album covers. That's probably the most short. That's probably my biggest short-term goal. Just want to, whether it's local artists in Huntsville or anyone, if I could just shoot an album cover, like hear their intention or what they want to do and help them capture that, or if an artist were to take one of my older photos and decide they want to use that, yeah, having one of my photos on a record would be, yeah.
Yes, that would be so cool because, like, you know, album covers, like, it sets the tone before you even hear, before you even hear the song. You're like, wait, okay, like, if it's a good album cover, you know.
Definitely,
And so, are there any, like, themes or issues you find yourself returning to in your work, especially in connection with being, like, a Black artist? Like, any, like, themes that you try to stay connected with? So like I know how you also talked about how you want people to recognize your work even if like it's not you like in the photo, like they just know it's you. So what type of like themes do you have where people would be like, oh, I know this is Xavier's work?
Gotcha. I feel like a good theme is, I'm not sure if point of view is the correct term, but I like to shoot a lot of people from behind. I feel like that's the best way to shoot someone's point of view. So I want people to, if they see a shot of someone from behind, if in a certain pose or with a certain background, maybe that'll let them know my work. I also like to shoot a lot of, I try to shoot a good chunk of people with, I guess a mystery vibe, almost like something's lurking, like suspicious. I like to have that mystery aspect involved because I feel like it helps pique curiosity the most. whenever I shoot stuff when I'm traveling or on street photography and I can't necessarily capture a subject and I'm just trying to capture a grand scale. A lot of times with stuff like that, I just try to make my work, I think I said it already, but I really feel I want my work to look like paintings. I want you to see the biggest compliment I feel like I get is when people see my picture and they say, is that a painting? I feel like whether it's in the way I edit it or in the time of day I shoot or just in the subject matter, I feel like all of my art, and I feel like a lot of the best artists, they can harken back to paintings, harken back to people sitting down, taking their time. Yeah, I'd say the main theme, if anything, I return to is just shooting people from behind. I like to almost like shoot people at a distance, almost give like a sense of voyeurism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so cool. And I feel like that is very like standout too, because a lot of the time people do like the front facing type photos, so I feel like that is such a significant thing to like make you stand out. And so let's talk a little more about the event you're involved in, or that's coming up on Friday, so the Framing the Future, a Black Photographers Gallery. So did you get like selected to do this event, or did you just choose to do it? Like, how did that come about, and what does it mean to you to be a part of this showcase?
Yeah, so in December, about a week before Christmas, I was just chilling, and then I got an email from Lena Meyer. She's the cultural programming manager for the Orion. She reached out to me and just said, hey, we've seen your work on social media, and we would love for you to be part of this gallery. It'll be you and a handful of different photographers, and I jumped at the chance. I agreed to it almost immediately, and one of the first questions I asked was, can I showcase some framing work for my sister? Because my sister is an artist as well as my brother, but my sister, she does a lot of custom framing. So my main question I asked was, will I be able to, if I do the gallery, can I do custom framing, include her framing work? And of course they said yes, definitely. So I guess it was a mix of being chosen, of course me accepting. And then from there, it was a matter of just trying to pick the pieces, because while I was chosen, they basically told me I could choose whatever pieces I want to include. I can choose to frame it however I want, since I'm basically covering the cost myself. So I try to focus a lot of the works on Black artists, since it's Black History Month and it's the Black Photographers Gallery. I try to focus I try to include as many Black subjects as I could, and if I couldn't, then I try to focus on more of the landscape work. And that's basically how that came about. So the last month has just been running and gunning, trying to get framing done for my sister, framing done locally, trying to get the prints right. I had to do a bit of trial and error with prints. This is my first gallery that I've been doing. I've done a few galleries, but whenever I would just give the people my print and they would do everything. But this is the first one where I had to get the prints myself, get the framing myself, get the glass myself, and it's been a great learning experience. And honestly, I'm quite excited, really excited about the gallery. Just being able to be in community with the other photographers. They're all great artists in themselves, with Doc and Neville and Miles. Just hopefully being able to see some of their work, seeing the things they did with preparing for the gallery, seeing maybe what types of different frames they use, what images they decided to include, and the reasonings behind it. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about being able to just have people just come out and support, people who've seen me starting out photography, mainly my family, seeing where I started and seeing where I am now, and seeing some of the people who I've shot, and maybe the surprise they'll get when they see the photo and they'll be like, when I first shot them, they didn't think it was gonna go anywhere, and now it's on display. But yeah, it's exciting, and I feel like it's a good stepping stone for where I really eventually want to be.
Yes, it is, and congratulations for getting chosen for this opportunity, and for people seeing like your potential and seeing your work. And so I feel like this is just only the beginning for you. And so do you have like family and friends like coming from out of town and stuff, or?
So my sister, she lives in Atlanta, so she'll be coming in town. I think I have a few other friends from Atlanta who may be coming in. And then most of the people, I think, will be local. I may have some family coming in from different states, but those are the people I know for sure who will be there.
Yes, and that's so sweet that you're, allowing your sister to also have her moment with the framing and everything, and that's just really amazing. And it just shows first that you're very selfless, that you're, wanting your sister to also have her work showcased as well. So, I'm not I guess all the way familiar with galleries. So with this, it's just going to be showcased, but are people going to be able to purchase anything, or is it just for show, for people to see stuff?
So as from what I remember being told, we could have done either just have it on display or sold. Okay. I decided to do both, so they're going to be on display, and I think all but one of my pieces will be for sale. Most of them will be either. These are both actually 11 by 14 prints, but in different size frames. So these will all be on sale, as well as I'll have a few 5 by 7 prints that will be on sale as well. But I'm not sure what the other photographers are doing, but I do intend to sell the pieces as well.
And are you are you gonna sign them?
I thought about that. I thought maybe I should have signed a few of the prints before I actually put them in the frame, but if people want me to, I will. Yes. But yeah, I'm open to it.
And so, speaking of these photos, do you want to talk a little bit about these and why did you bring them today? What's the significance?
Definitely, yeah. So for this first photo, I call it the art of balance. Okay. So this, like I mentioned before, my sister Orion Adams, by Bri Adams on Instagram, she did the custom framing for it.
It's beautiful.
Oh yeah. and then the subject. This is actually my brother Caleb. Wow. He's currently a fashion major at University of North Alabama. So he had actually asked me last year if I could do a photo shoot for him to show off some of his work. This is a custom made piece he did. All this was custom made by him with some variations. Okay. So yeah, I knew as soon as I took the photo and as soon as I got the film developed and the scans back, I knew that it was special to me. And when I was told I was going to be able to do the gallery, this is the first photo I said I want to include. I felt like it's a good intersection of me and my siblings, with my brother being the subject and my sister doing the framing. It just
that's beautiful. Oh, yeah. Yes, and I see what you mean now. That literally looks like a painting. My gosh, that is very crisp and clean. I love that.
Definitely, thank you. And this one, I call it.
I can hold this.
Oh, thank you. This one is called. It has a few different names, but for now I just call it Streets of Antigua. Last year, me and my family we go on trips. We try to go on trips at least once a year, and we decided to go to the Antigua. And I always bring at least 4 or 5 cameras with me, just to capture what I can.
Yeah, can't miss a moment.
Oh yeah. And a lot of times when I shoot certain photos on film, I don't remember actually taking the photo, and then I get the photo back. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. This was definitely one of them. I can't tell you what day it was when I shot it or anything about it really, but when I got the photo back, I always get at least 1 or 2 photos from each roll of film that I shoot that I'm just like, I guess I'm decent with it. And this is definitely one of them.
Yeah, you have to hype yourself up.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this is another one that my sister custom framed. And another reason I wanted to bring these two in particular is because these were both shot on film. This was shot on Harman Phoenix 200 film. It's one of the newer stocks that's come out. I think you can see a lot of a good bit of saturation in the colors, especially in the orange and the blues.
Yes. And so do you develop these yourself, or do you have to get them developed somewhere when you get them printed?
So I do a mix. So I have my own darkroom at home. A lot of times I will develop the film myself, and then once the film's developed, they come out in negatives. I need to get a new scanner, so in the meantime, I've taken a lot of my film down to Sutherland's on Whitesburg Road, and they'll develop the film, and they'll scan the film for me. And then sometimes with these 2 photos, I believe, I actually got the rolls developed and scanned by Sutherland's. Okay. With this one, people may not know what I'm saying when I say all this, but essentially on film, there's a setting called ISO. And that's a certain number typically from 100 to 1600, 3200 that tells you what's to shoot the film at. This was shot on a Kodak 400 black and white film, but a lot of times with my black and white film, if it's a 400 ISO, I like to what they call push it, and I shoot it at 1600.
Okay.
When you shoot it at a different ISO, specifically when you shoot it higher, it allows for more contrast. So when I sent it over to Sutherland's, I told them, push the roll 2 stops, and they were able to do that, and then I got the scans back for them, and this is how it turned out. But a lot of times I will develop my own film, scan it myself, but I typically will always, if I don't scan it myself, I'll just take it to Sutherland's. I've gone to them for about 3 years now, and their work is top tier.
Yes,
Yeah.
clearly, you know.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy because you mentioned ISO, and like I took like this audiovisual storytelling class, and like that was the biggest thing like that we learned about, and so it was very important. So to get that together. And so you talked a little bit about this, but what can people like fully expect to see at the event, and can you just share like a few details about maybe some other photos you have?
I guess when it comes to as it pertains to my work in the gallery, people can expect to see a lot of, I guess, street work, a lot of hands. I'm trying to think about the piece I have now. A good bit of hands, a lot of landscapes. There will be a good bit of photos from different countries, such as Antigua, Greece, Costa Rica. I try to just include a wide range as possible.
And that's amazing that you have like diverse, you know, places that you're able to go to. So you're not just, you know, filming here in like Huntsville, but like you go all around the world to really capture stuff. So that's amazing.
Oh yeah, thank you. And another thing, as far as the frames go, I don't think really any of the 2 frames in the gallery, on my gallery, will be the same. I try to include different frames for each of them that help to tell the story of the image.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I love that shows like so much detail, because like, you know, I know like some people at galleries, they probably just do the same framing and everything, but to have a frame to match like each image in some way. So so like why did you, I guess, choose like this frame to go with this?
So in particular with this frame, when me and my sister initially collaborated, the main discussion point we had was we were trying to discuss mainly with the photo what matte color or what frame color would work best. So this one we decided that a black matte would work, and then I just told her a gray or even a gray or silver frame would work. So she took that and she found this silver frame, and I really love the design of it. It feels, to me, it kind of feels like one of my favorite frames I had in my house growing up. It was, I think a lot of black households have it, but it's a frame of Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad. And I remember it had like a design in it, and I feel like this design in the framing kind of gives like black like African American interior design household vibes.
Yes.
Like I want this to be a photo that, you know, with the frame that you buy it and you have it set up, and it's like, it's I guess this one has, I feel like my sister can probably give a bit more explanation as to why she chose this one, but I knew as soon as I saw the frame, I was like, yeah, this is the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so symbolic too, because, you know, like you said, like, you know, you took the photo, this is your brother and then your sister's frame, and then the fact that this was like a type of frame that you guys had in your household too, so it's all just like one, like just representing you and your family and your childhood. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then for this frame, again, with this one, me and my sister, we decided we wanted to do an off-white matte, and then I think she had added in the green. I forgot what she calls it, double matte, but she added that in for flair, which I thought worked pretty well.
Yes, it does. It really brings out like the green here too.
Definitely,
so,
yeah. And then as far as the frame goes, we decided on gold, and I wanted a more like a bulkier frame, and I feel like she captured it pretty well.
Yes.
I feel like the bulkier frames, a lot of times they can help to, with a bulkier frame, it just helps the photo to look more like historic.
Yes.
I guess more of a timeless feel.
Yeah, and that's definitely the vibes I got, like museum, like historic, like I
Yeah.
can see this in a museum. So
Yeah.
yes, and I love how like with this it's like not as thick of a frame because like the subject is already so close, and in this one, you know, since it's a little more far, like the bulkier frame, like it makes it, you know, stand out. So yeah,
Definitely.
that's really amazing. That's a good like eye for details. And so what do you hope for people to take away from viewing your gallery, and also from just attending this type of event for Black History Month?
True. What I hope people take away is, you know, we should hire him.
Yes.
I guess the main thing I want people to take away is that I feel like a lot of times when it comes to photography, when it comes, I guess, to like professional photography, I feel like a lot of people focus on too many of the technical aspects. I feel like they focus on trying to make sure they have like the best gear, the most high-tech cameras. You have your work has to be photoshopped to make it picture perfect or whatever. I'm hoping with this people focus less on the technicalities and more just on the message or what you want a photo to say, what you want the subject of the photo to say, and not focus on just, you know, how sharp it is, how bright it is, how much contrast or highlights are included. Nah, it's just, that's one thing I feel like I've gotten that gets me bogged down or gets me in my head, because I don't feel like I still know as much as I should about the technical aspects, about Photoshop, about all of that. This is probably why I like to shoot on film. It takes a lot of that out of the way. So I just hope people, if anything, they just focus on, you can use whatever to get a good photo. Like I shot this photo on a Canon A1, which is from the 80s. I shot this photo on a Ricoh film camera, which I don't think people really don't really use Ricoh bread as much as they should, in my opinion. But yeah, you can really shoot with anything, and if you have good intentions behind it, it'll look good. And then I feel like the significance of the piece of having a Black photographers gallery in Black History Month, I just feel like so much has happened recently where, you know, focusing on Blackness, focusing on diversity is really being silenced. And I think it means a lot to me to have to be a part of this gallery, specifically in a state like Alabama, where historically and even now, a lot of people would prefer to not have a Black photographers gallery, to not have anything Black, to be honest. It feels good knowing that I can be a part of something and allow for people to still see diversity or to see a different viewpoint, and to have it during Black History Month, when people are seems to be trying to take that away from us. I feel like it's still allowing me to hold on to some hope and optimism that, you know, people of color, specifically Black people, will still have these opportunities and these spaces to really show our work and not be suppressed.
Yes, yeah. And I think, you know, it'll be a wonderful gallery for people to, you know, check out and understand, you know, the process of being, you know, a Black photographer and a Black artist, and just, you know, all of that work that you guys put in and stuff to really create these pieces. So I'm really excited for you and all the other photographers to get this opportunity, and especially, you know, like you said, this is one of your first like big scale kind of galleries. So, you know, letting this be like, I feel like this is a really cool opportunity for this to be your first one. And so, you know, you'll always remember this moment when you're going to make your album covers and all that stuff. Like, you'll always remember this as like your humble beginnings.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think it stands out too, just to have it be exclusively for Black photographers, because a few weeks ago I watched this documentary on HBO Max called, I think, Black Art in the Absence of Light, and there's a statistic that really stood out to me. Apparently, this is what one of the gentlemen said, that out of all galleries in the world, 85% white artists, and then of the 15% of artists that are of people of color, it's 1.2% black.
Wow.
So the fact that we're having a gallery that exclusively shows the work of that 1.2%, I think it means a lot to me. I hope it means a lot to the other guys. And hopefully it means we'll each get opportunities to be a part of that 1.2% in other galleries, and hopefully expand that 1.2% to really be reflective, because even though it's 1.2% black people don't make up 1.2% of all artists in the world. It's way more than that, but we just don't get a lot of the opportunities that we should. So to have this opportunity just really means a lot in the show that we're not really that rare, and there's more of us out there. People just have to seek us.
Yes, and I think, when people come and they meet you guys and see your work and stuff, it will definitely help your guys' business grow, and people wanting to work with you guys, and sharing, and then it could also inspire other areas in Alabama or in the U.S. and stuff to also have more black galleries, even outside of Black History Month as well. Definitely. So yes, and so why do you think an event like this is something important? What do you want? What do you yourself want to take out of it as well? What do you want to connect with people that come there with? Is there a message that you want to share with them? Whether it's through your work or just the things that you say to them.
I feel like I want a key message to people to get from the gallery. To me, I feel like art in all forms is the best conveyor of truth. I think art tells us the most about our past and where we're going to go. I feel like 9 times out of 10, if you want to know where the world's heading or where things could go, there's going to be a piece of art that will tell you it, whether it's a movie, a photo, painting, music. I'm hoping that people are able to see in the gallery that at a time like this, art is one of the main foundations of truth that we still have left, amidst a world where a lot of the truth is being manipulated and taken away.
Yes, and that's such an amazing perspective I never thought about, because art truly is the way that we capture time, and especially photography, our history books and all that stuff, we see those photos and it's it captured a time where we might have not been alive, but we still are able to see it and experience it in a way through photography. So yes, and it also shows just how important the role of having photographers are, because you guys literally are capturing history. So and what advice would you give to any aspiring black photographers or just young artists in general who want to follow in your footsteps, and especially if they're just starting out and they're hard on themselves and they're like, am I gonna make it? Is this for me? What advice would you give to them?
My main 2 pieces of advice would be to be intentional and to shoot on film. And I feel like the reason I say those 2 is because I feel like the best way to learn how to be intentional with your work is by shooting on film. I feel like shooting on film, and it's so played out and probably pretentious, but I feel like shooting on film really allowed me to hone in on my process. If you shoot on a roll of film, you get 36 shots max on a roll. You can't waste those 36 shots. I mean, you could, but then you're just wasting your money. Yeah. I feel like, it really allows you to hone in on the process and just be more appreciative. It's different when, you're shooting a photo on a digital camera and you take the SD card out, you put it in your camera, you put it in your computer, and you have them all pop up. When you shoot on a roll of film and then you develop it, and then you get to really see all the photos at once and see those little frames of your work, it really allows you to, I think, sit down and just think, okay, this is what I shot, I should have shot this better, I should have shot this better. And instead of having hundreds of photos you can look at, on a digital image, it'd be like, at a certain point, if you're looking at hundreds of photos, they all start to like, wash out. But if you're looking at a few photos, you start to think, okay, I could have done this better, but now I got to remember by the time I did want to do that better, the roll was out. So now I have to shoot and make sure I know what I'm doing from the beginning, so I don't waste no more film. I would just say be intentional. Whatever you decide to shoot, think about think about what you want people to see, and more importantly, think about how it's a reflection of you. Okay. And I feel like if you think about how it's going to reflect you, you'll try to shoot something better, or try to shoot something with more of a meaning.
Yes, and I think that's amazing, like the advice about the filming, using film, especially because I feel like it almost makes it look timeless as well, like because you're using like older, type of equipment, and I feel like it makes your work so unique because most photographers that I don't think I've ever used a photographer that's like not used a digital camera. So, and like even whenever I've like filmed things when I was like in college and stuff, like it was, like you said, after looking at 100 pictures, I'm like, at this point, I'm just going to pick one and go with it.
Oh, yeah.
But, when you have like those 36, it makes you intentional because you really can look and examine. And, like you said, like it makes you choose subjects that are like important to you because like, okay, I don't want to waste this money. I don't want to waste this film. Let me get it together. So,
definitely.
Yes. And what has been the most rewarding part of your career so far? Is it the gallery, or is there other parts that have been like just the highlight of your career so far?
I feel like it might be corny. I feel like a lot of times I feel the most rewarding when I'm just shooting different people and just saying that the photo, it makes them feel good. I always feel like the most rewarding when I send photos back to people and they're just like, oh my God, I love it. I can't believe, and just, I guess, feeling the gratitude of people from the photos, it's a pretty rewarding. And I feel like outside of that, outside of that, this gallery is probably the most rewarding because it's kind of like a culmination of at least the last 3 years specifically of trying to take all the good and the bad, taking all the moments where people told me the photos are good, and combined with the moments where the photos were not as good, or people didn't understand them, or people said stuff I didn't necessarily appreciate. I feel like this gallery kind of shows that amidst all the ups and downs, I am doing something right for a while. So,
Yeah, I definitely think this gallery is like your like I made it moment type of thing, and I think that is amazing. I feel like me and my friends, this is a little different than like photography, but we always talk about how like it probably is such a rewarding feeling at like concerts, for example, when artists are singing and then the whole crowd is singing their song. And we're like, oh my God, that's probably the best feeling for them.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, as a photographer, having people being like, oh my God, like this is the best like photo I've ever had, and especially because a lot of the time like people don't have like professional photos taken of them. A lot of the time now it's like on their phone. So sometimes you're somebody's first professional photographer, and you like just created their first like photo that they get to have and displayed in their home. So yes, that probably definitely is a really rewarding feeling.
And I really appreciate that analogy with the artist, because especially when I don't think I can relate to it as much, but a lot of times with like artists, when they're singing a song and they have the crowd singing out in the back of their mind, they're probably thinking like how long it took to record the song and make the song, the amount of people who probably rejected them, the number of executives who told them their music wasn't good, to kind of get that validation. I guess I probably would get a sense of validation, especially with the film photos, because a lot of times I was in spaces where people didn't appreciate the film work, and just being told certain things about my photos, and I was like, okay. I do feel like that validation will probably hopefully come out a little bit more during the gallery. I don't think it's hit me yet, but
Yes, I do, and I believe it will for sure. People are going to love, especially the custom framing for each one as well. They're going to really appreciate that. And so, looking ahead, like what's next for you after this event? Are there any exciting projects or anything we can look forward to seeing?
Yeah, I've been so bogged down trying to get stuff ready. I feel like that's the main question I've been asking myself. I don't really have anything planned at the moment. I have a few like concerts I'm going to, so hopefully I get to shoot some stuff there. But I'm hoping to at least get some gigs lined up after from the gallery. People see and they may reach out. But in the meantime, I have a few film projects here and there I'm still working on. Hopefully I can get back into those. I've been shooting a couples project for like 3 years. Hopefully I can get back into that and try to really wrap that project up. Those are the main things I'm working on. I'm hoping that by the end of the year I'll be in collaboration more with a few more musicians, and I can focus more on shooting them for the rest of the year.
Yes, and I've noticed, I'm new to Huntsville, but I've noticed a lot of like there's a lot of local artists and a lot of little like local things and stuff, so I feel like you'll get your foot in for sure with that. And is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we wrap up? Anything we didn't touch on?
I mean, other than looking forward to the gallery, looking forward to meeting fellow artists in Huntsville, collaborating, networking, looking forward to possibly shooting more events in Huntsville. If people want to reach out, let me know what events they'd like me to shoot. That would be appreciated. And I'm just looking forward to this opportunity to showcase my work as well as the other photographers, and hopefully this is a continuation. Hopefully that we can the Orion will allow that to build off, and the Orion will have more galleries, and specifically with the Black Photographers Gallery they can include I guess Black women next time, and be, because I think it's 4 of us, we're all men, but having Black women included in the photographers gallery in the future would be nice, and I'm hoping to meet some Black female photographers as well. That would be pretty great, and just looking forward to collaboration and just seeing where things go from here.
Yes. And so one more time, just to talk about the gallery. It's going to be such an exciting and impactful show, so you guys please go out and see. And so and when and where can people check it out? And what would you encourage people like who are like, okay, I don't know if I want to attend or not, like what would you say to them to like encourage them to want to show up to the event? Yes,
so the gallery is going to be this Friday, February 21st from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. If you come, there will be a reception. I believe there will be some, refreshments. Yes. If you just want to come to a gallery, come to an art show, really just kind of be able to sit back and view some work, listen to some good music, have some good times. It'll be near the camp or near Mid-City. Okay. Mid-City is a good vibe overall. So if you want to just step in the gallery real quick, take a peek, dip out, you'll have plenty of stuff to do afterwards. And if you just want to have a good night out in the city, and not have to worry about doing too much, just look at some work, maybe buying some pieces. You ain't gotta buy nothing. Yeah. So it's free for people to come in. Free to attend. And Yes, awesome. Thank you so much. And also, would you like to shout out any of your socials, and like, if anybody's interested in working with you in the future or booking you for a photo shoot or anything, how can they reach you? Yes. So if you're interested in reaching out to me for photo shoots or any other inquiries through Instagram, my @ is not Professor X, and those are the main two, and you can also reach me via email, but you can find my email through those platforms. Yes, and any for the framing for your sister, what was her social again? My sister's framing, her Instagram is by.briadams, that's BY.BRIADAMS.
Yes, awesome. So yes, please follow, the whole family. They're talented, clearly. So, but thank you so much again today for coming and talking with me and just sharing all of this. And I'm excited to see how the gallery turns out and everything. And I hope, it's a great turnout and that this is just one of many things that you get to do in your career. So,
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
yes, of course. And so that is all for 48 Now. Thank you all for tuning in. And please don't forget to follow Xavier Adams. Go to the Black Photographer Gallery event. It is this Friday, February 21st, and it is going to be at the Orion Amphitheater. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.